So last night we had a Zoom meeting for parents to answer any questions they had. We walked through them in order and answered all the questions. The goal of last night's meeting was to give parents some insight, be able to see each other's questions and ask us anything that was on their mind so that we could walk through, the administration could walk through, the principals could walk through what the plan is at this point and give them some reassurances that all the things that could be considered at this point have been considered to keep the children safe and the staff safe and the teachers safe as we go through this complicated time. The idea for last night's forum actually came from a fellow board mate, Carrie Claus. She had experienced that with her son going off to college and said, you know, it was just a great format, let's do it. And Mr. Holden and I jumped in and said, let's go, and all the leaders and the principals and facilities, special ed. It was a good discussion. It was really interesting to see what some of those questions were, and a lot of them centered around we need to talk to the Department of Health and Human Services when there is potential of a case, whether it's a student or staff or teacher. So it's just being able to explain that, well, there's in this environment, there's a lot of push for local control, and each board is deciding. What unites all of the local school systems or the New Hampshire school systems, if there is a case, if there is a concern, we are all to go to the DHHS to get guidance, and they'll even help us on how to communicate and the timeliness and the others. So I personally, as a board member, am feeling really good about the plan. Last night's meeting really reinforced that all the work this summer that led up to being able to open on the 31st, we're in the best possible place to be successful. And though it won't be what the kids are used to or walked out of in February, we're going to have a positive, constructive, safe learning environment.
So as Jesse said, we had a great Zoom meeting last night with about 80 parents on board. And we gave us an opportunity as a district to outline our plan. We've been in communication with parents a lot this summer with email, with Alert Now systems, but it was really nice to be face-to-face or screen-to-screen with folks so they could really get an idea and ask some great questions. So our plan going into August will be to have our students come face-to-face back with us. All students were given the option to come back or the option to go remote. Our remote options are VLAX, Virtual Learning Academy from the state of New Hampshire. It's an online public high school, accredited public high school. They've been in existence, I think, for about 5 to 6 years now. The state put out that if they would be available to help districts with the remote option. And so we gave that option for our students, and we gave it K through 12. Unfortunately, the VLAX, they filled up very quickly. All the elementary spots across the state have been closed. There was a few classes left in middle school and some classes left in high school. Again, we probably had about 10% of our population that have chosen to go remote, and right now we feel like we've been able to get those folks handled, whether it's on VLAX, again, through a teacher here at the elementary school or another program that you're using called Edgenuity. And our remote option, our elementary school, is having a remote teacher that will help service those students who have chosen that. About 85 to 90% of our students have chosen to come back face-to-face, and so we have been preparing our school all summer long, buying different disinfectants, keeping our facilities, looking at social distancing, looking at our mask policies, looking at all the classrooms and how to keep those, again, socially distanced and sized appropriately. At this point in time, we have about 90% of our classes that are able to be social distanced at 6 feet. Students were required to wear a mask while anytime they're in the building and moving around. The only time they'll be able to take their mask off while at their desk in 6 feet, socially distanced at 6 feet from other folks. At that point in time, they can take their masks off. I think we have a good plan at this point in time. Again, it's a very fluid situation, so things continue to change day by day. But as we look forward right here, right now, we feel like we have a good plan to go forward to keep people safe.
So one of the things I think is important for parents to understand is, as each of the students is receiving a Chromebook, so there's one-to-one with technology through grants and other means, there is a Chromebook for each child. That is the opportunity yesterday, today, and tomorrow when the parents and the students come in to get their Chromebook, they can walk the school. So for any of the community members that don't come in and walk the school, there will be some more additional videos. We have videos about how food service is going to work, bus. There's going to be somebody riding the bus to take temperature, all of these other details. Those will all be available on the site, on the Facebook, all of that. what I really like is seeing the transformation over the summer, where it really comes down to, and we see this in workplaces, we see this at my workplace, it's show, don't tell. So if you pull the extra chairs and you pull the extra desk where people can come in, even adults can forget sometimes because they're excited to see the students, you make it a successful environment where there is 6 feet between every chair and there's limited furniture to make congregation and clumping too easy. The kids will walk into a successful environment their first day, come back to that their second day, and it will help the staff and the administration support them in getting used to masks at all times unless you're in a seat 6 feet away. So it's something I've watched over the summer that I'm very happy about as a community member, as a parent, is that when the kids walk in, this is their new normal, and it looks nice, it's accessible, but most importantly, it's going to limit the tendency which children have and teachers have with them for proximity and closeness that's below 6 feet. So it's something I'm very happy to see, and I just want to convey that to community members. And again, SAU85.org, the Facebook, other means, but there's a lot of good information on SAU85, and as those videos get completed, any of the taxpayers that want to see how it's being done and how it's being managed will be able to get a front row seat.
So obviously one of the major concerns in our district is the age of our elementary school and the facility itself. We've been working really hard with our facilities director, Matt Baranis, and his crew over the summertime. We have purchased some HEPA filters for every classroom in this building. We've been able to resurrect some old air handlers in the basement, the old air handlers in the 1965 section of the building, to at least start to be able to circulate some fresh air. It won't be heated air, but at least be bringing some fresh air into some of the classrooms. 6 of those classrooms, the original building, have just holes in the sort of the baseboard of the classrooms where the air is just sucked up through up to the ceiling. And so we're going to rely on keeping our windows open, or at least as long as we can during the good weather. And then as that weather gets a little bit colder during the winter, we're going to have to look at continuing to close those windows down. During night, we'll have ultraviolet cleaning and electrostatic cleaning that will go on in every building, extensive cleaning. Probably around 3:30 every day, our buildings will be shut. Folks will be asked to leave our building so that we can start that cleaning process. There'll be continuous cleaning process going on throughout the day. Our bathrooms will be cleaned probably almost every hour, if not a little more than that. Again, using the electrostatic sprayers to go in to get a large area to be able to clean those down all at once. We're also going to rely on our teachers and our students to help out in the cleaning process. In our middle high school, our students will be moving from class to class 5 to 7 times in a period of a day. The students at a desk are going to be asked to wipe the top of that desk down every time before they leave that desk and go on to their next classroom. In our elementary school, our teachers will be working with our students to do that right before lunchtime and right after lunchtime. Students in elementary school have a tendency to stay on that desk for one period of time. And any sort of small group instruction that's going on, teachers are going to have to clean those surfaces and any equipment that's used before another set of students comes in and potentially uses that equipment. The facility definitely creates some challenges for us. Just the ability to have our students in the hallway to hang their things on hooks. I think you've probably seen it if you've been through this building, those things are really close to our hallways. We don't have lockers, we don't have cubby holes, and they literally are hanging on a hook. So we're going to have to really look at strategically how we can have our children go in the hallway safely, a few at a time, come back in and trying to keep those areas safe and try to keep those students from that as much going back and forth and crossing paths with one another. So our facilities right now, I think, is what I would say are our biggest challenge. I think, again, as we look at right now for where we stand, we feel we have those things covered. We feel we can keep things safe and clean for kids. We'll have to continue to see how that works throughout the year as it gets a little colder. One of the things that we are really prepared for, Jesse talked about the Chromebooks going for all our students. When we had to go out and march to remote learning, we were unprepared to do that. We have gotten ourselves prepared with the idea that we may have to go back out again at any point in time next year. So as Jesse mentioned, we do have Chromebooks for every student K through 12. We've also been working with our teachers in both buildings to come up with expectations for teachers and for students on and if we had to go to remote learning again. It'll be a much more, I'm going to say a lot more rigorous and a lot more structured as far as what would be required from both students and teachers. So we've been working on those expectations, and if we did have to go remote, we'll be able to pivot and then be able to put those expectations out so parents and students are aware of them as we go to that learning mode. It will continue to be challenging. One of our plans right now, our Plan B, as I've been calling it, is trying to get us to Thanksgiving. As of Thanksgiving, when that comes about, generally that's about cold and flu season, and it's going to be really hard, I think, for our nurses and our staff to be able to make a determination on potential COVID symptoms to just regular cold and flu season. And so if we could get to the Thanksgiving time period, we do have a Plan B in place that would have us go a week off, 3 weeks on, a week on, 3 weeks off in a remote setting, almost bringing us to March, which hopefully will get us through that time period and allow a little more consistency to deliver that education to our kids in a remote setting.
So the facility presents an enormous challenge. I think Mr. Holden is addressing that reasonably, but I want to underscore for the parents and the taxpayers, for anybody in town, the community's lack of support over the last 30 years for modernizing the elementary school has put the district in a position to open during COVID, where there is very limited mechanically moved air. So having it already be a policy, already be a habit to, when the kids leave, particularly during cold and flu seasons in the many years past, to have our facilities team open all the windows so the building can breathe and get some fresh air, that is presenting extraordinary challenges in this environment. So UV light, air filters, and everything else does not replace or make equal to modern ventilation. So as a small school system, we have some huge advantages. The other small schools around the state have some advantages with naturally smaller class sizes. It's much easier to hit the 10 or 11 mark. There's more flexibility. But with our outdated facility in this elementary school, there are limited, as Mr. Holden mentioned, there's limited hallway size. Some of the classrooms are undersized. We still have students learning under stairwells. So all of those tight environments are going to mean masks the entire time. So if you have a young student getting speech support or reading support, the educator is going to have a mask, the student's going to have a mask, and they might be in a tighter environment that'll require it the whole time. So there's some additional challenges by the community's choice not to update and modernize the school that I think is important for new residents to understand that, yes, we have a plan, yes, we're going to have procedure, kids are going to be wearing, and staff are going to be wearing masks a lot more because of the lack of proper space and the lack of proper airflow. Despite that, we're confident we can keep everybody safe and have a positive education environment. But the facility, particularly the elementary school, presents some enormous challenges that are unfortunate.
So one of the issues that has come up and has had a lot of conversation is extracurricular activities. And that goes anything from our chess club to our beat club to our mountain bike club to obviously all our sport programs. About 80% of our students in the middle high school participate in extracurricular activities. And as I talked earlier about trying to create that bubble and trying to keep us safe in that bubble, that potentially creates a big problem for us to be able to go out and to compete against other schools. No decisions as of yet have been made regarding athletics. The NHIAA has come out and said it's okay to play all your sports, and they've really pushed that back to the districts and local control to determine if you wanted to play regionally, which sports you wanted to play, allowing you to be involved in open tournaments where you don't have to stick with a specific Division II or Division III or Division IV schedule. I do think there's some opportunity at a minimum. We would be able to do some intramural things in-house so that students do have the ability to participate. Again, keeping that bubble closed where maybe we're only competing against ourselves. Because we have so many kids that do participate in extracurricular activities, I think we could do something 6 through 12 co-ed teams and be able to participate in different sports, whether that's soccer or baseball or softball or basketball, and at least do something that way to make sure our kids have an opportunity to be active and participate in some sort of activity.
So one of the things I wanted to bring attention to with this opportunity to speak to the community is that the extent that the staff and administration and teachers have gone over the summer to be prepared to meet individual learning needs. So specifically, great question last night in the forum, a whole bunch of great questions from all the parents. One was, what about the inequity of access to quality internet? How are you helping students with that? So great question.
Last year we went to remote learning. The Department of Education did give us the opportunity, if we needed to bring small cohorts of students into our school. We chose not to, given that things were so new and fresh to us regarding the pandemic. We didn't want to take those chances. Now that we know what we know and we have precautions and protocols in place, we feel if we did need to go back out remote again, that we could have small cohorts of students coming back in. Whether those were students that didn't have internet access, students with IEPs, individual education plans, or students that perhaps didn't engage well during the remote learning process. That would allow us again to bring those small cohorts in and to help educate them within our facilities.
So we want to emphasize there is a lot of information. As things change, new information will be posted. The key single source of truth is SAU85.org. So there's lots of information on that site. There's videos that are made, there's videos that are coming. They'll be on the site, they'll be on the Facebook page. We want people to look and to reach out.
Again, going into this year, our primary concern is the safety of our students, our faculty, and our entire community. It will take the entire community to help us pull this off and to keep us safe and to keep us face-to-face in educating our students every day. We ask that everyone is diligent, everyone is respectful of one another, is methodical, takes their time, is willing to be flexible and understanding. This is something unique for everyone that we're going through for the first time, and we need to be as diligent as we are on August 31st and on September 31st and October 31st. We can't just forget what we need to do after the first week. We need to be diligent about doing our home screenings, making sure we're staying 6 feet apart, and wearing our masks.
There's always opportunities to reach out directly to ask the questions to the building principals. You're in very good hands with the principals we have. You can reach out to the SAU office directly to Mr. Holden. You can certainly reach out to the board, but it'll all funnel through the SAU so that everybody involved knows what those questions are. And that was the beauty of the forum last night, is a lot of similar themes came up and everybody got a similar consistent answer. So if you're not sure, ask. If you're not sure and you want to look on your own, start at the site, and then you can reach out from there. But we appreciate the community engagement. It does take a village, and it's going to take all of us to make this work in a safe way, and we appreciate everybody's support.